It was important to us to apologize to Adam and the entire Orioles organization, which we did this morning. And we had a chance to visit with him. John Henry and I met with our players first. I thought it was important to do that. And then we went over and John and I met with Adam and Buck Showalter today just to express our apologies for what happened last night. And we'll all try to move forward together, but behavior that should never happen. It's a reminder of where we are in society, that this type of behavior still happens around the country, and it's disappointing, but we got to acknowledge it, take responsibility, accountability, and address it, and hopefully move forward.
How do you find the person or persons that are responsible?
It's really hard. We had an unusual number of ejections last night. We had 34 ejections. None of those ejections had any documentation or reports of racial slurs or taunts, but that doesn't mean it didn't happen. And we told Adam that, and we believe him and acknowledge that. The way we can do it, the way we can find out who's saying these things, is through a collective partnership between the organization, our day of game staff, who are wonderful. Let me acknowledge that our security team, our ambassadors, our fan service reps work their tails off to give a great experience here at Fenway. Our players can help us. We talked a lot about that with our players today. They were terrific in our meeting. And the fans can really help us. If you hear something at Fenway Park that is offensive or uncomfortable, makes you feel uncomfortable or unsafe or is inappropriate, please alert a fan service representative, either in person, or you can do it through a telephone number or a text line, or even through our @Ballpark app. This is a partnership between the organization and our fans to do everything we can to make Fenway one of the best experiences in all baseball, which I believe it is. And it's unfortunate that one person or a small group of people can create such negativity, and it's disappointing.
Take us into the meeting with Adam Jones. Take us a little bit into the meeting, and what did he have to say?
Adam was terrific. We've got a couple mutual friends in baseball, so I was able to get his number and text him first thing this morning. And we set up a time to get together in Buck's office. John was there. I think he appreciated that the principal owner of the club joined the meeting, and Adam was great. He said, listen, this isn't your fault, because we're apologizing profusely, because no one should be subject to what he was subject to. And so we just apologized, and he said, look, it's hard to deal with this as a player, but he understands that sometimes it goes with the territory. And John Henry was quick to say, no, it shouldn't go with the territory. It's not okay. You should speak out. And John told him he was glad that he did. And again, we apologized for it happening and said we were going to work closely with the Orioles organization and our team here to try and make sure that nothing like this ever happens again. And we have increased security tonight, increased undercover police, increased uniformed police. I want to thank Mayor Marty Walsh, who's been terrific, and Police Commissioner Billy Evans, who were available at all hours of the night last night and early this morning to talk through everything that we're doing, and really appreciate the community pulling together in what was a despicable incident.
Sam, what do you make you stop the ignorance of the fans?
You know, Johnny, if I could stop the ignorance of the fans, I'd probably be doing something else for a living. And I want to be clear. I grew up here. I'm from here. Boston sports fans are the best sports fans in the world, in my very biased opinion. So the bad behavior of one or two people should not be reflected across an entire fan base. But we have to acknowledge that these things happen. And I think when we talk about these things, that's how we can deal with them. And we recognize them and we deal with them. You don't run away from it. You don't dismiss it. You don't just discard something like this. You have to step up and you have to deal with it and deal with it proactively, and that's what we're trying to do here today. But it's hard to change some people's mindset. I understand that.
Sam, have any of the fans come forward to say, yes, we heard this, or has there been any type of complaints or anything lodged that they would be corroborate what was said?
Not to my knowledge, but that I have not read or seen or heard everything. All I know is that Adam Jones heard what he heard, and that's one more person hearing something that should ever hear something like that in a ballpark or anywhere else in the world. So it's unfortunate.
Sam, what's
your own players?
Yes.
Have any of them said they've heard something?
Yes. Yeah, our players acknowledged in our meeting that they have heard inappropriate remarks
in this ballpark.
In this ballpark, in other ballparks, and again, it's just that's why I opened these remarks today by saying how saddened and disappointed I am personally to hear that. Our players have acknowledged that, and boy, they were so great to take the time to meet with us and help us think through how we work with our operations team to do our best to eject these fans and consider taking further steps. John Henry was very, very passionate about this, whether we ultimately revoke tickets from someone who engages in this type of behavior or ban someone from the ballpark for a year, for life. It's just not acceptable behavior, and we're not going to tolerate it, but we need to know who's done it, and we'd ask our fans to please let us know and help us in this effort. It's incumbent upon us. It's our responsibility. We have to do a better job, but we do have a need for a partnership with the players and our fans.
Are your players comfortable playing here? Do you get that sense?
I do. Yeah, I do. I really do get that sense that our players are comfortable playing here. This is a warm, friendly, hospitable place. When incidents like this happen, it's extremely disappointing, but I want to be clear about that I've been here for 15 years. I grew up a mile down the street, and one or two incidents are too many, but I hope that it doesn't cast a light on Fenway in too negative of a way, because it is such a special place for baseball, and this place means a lot to so many of us.
Sam, what about
what's the
fans
team's
throwing
current
items
policy?
at players? Apparently there was a bag of peanuts thrown and it actually hit a police officer.
Yeah, that's unacceptable, and that fan was ejected because we were able to identify that fan, and that fan was reported, and the bag did ironically hit a police officer, and fans need to know they can't engage in that behavior either. There's all sorts of behavior that's not acceptable. We have a very clear code of conduct, which we announce each and every night at the ballpark. Our season ticket holders know that code of conduct. Our general ticket holders know that code of conduct. But we can always do a better job of communicating that effectively to them. Our fan service reps do that night in and night out. And as I said, we typically run 12, 15 ejections a night, which is relatively low compared to 37,000 people that might be here for a ball game.
Can you prosecute fans for this kind of behavior, throwing items or launching racial epithets?
Yeah, charges can be pursued. That would typically be done by the victim of an incident in concert with the police, Boston police.
Can the team do it?
It's a good question. I don't know the answer to that. I haven't heard a case of a team pressing legal charges against a fan, but that doesn't mean it hasn't happened. It doesn't mean that we can't do it, but we want to make sure that our fans know and the market knows offensive language, racial taunts, slurs are not acceptable. If you do it, you're going to be ejected. If you do it, you're going to be subject to having your tickets revoked for a year, maybe for life. We're going to look at that. We haven't made any firm decisions, but it just can't happen.
Sam, will the security be focused around the outfield?
Yes, sir. Yeah, and we're going to have security, extra security in center field area, left field line, the dugout area, and throughout the ballpark. Billy Evans in the mayor's office and the police department is great. They offer that right up, and so they're working with us. And that was one of the things that John Henry and I wanted to make sure that Adam knew, that we wanted to make sure he felt safe and comfortable and well, maybe not comfortable playing at Fenway, but safe, and he should not be subject to that despicable behavior, and we let him know that, and we've also coordinated with MLB and their security folks on the matter as well.
He was talking about players. Is there a particular area of the park where they are hearing this sort of thing?
It's a good question. Unfortunately, I think these things have happened in other ballparks around the country, at Fenway Park, and they probably happen when people aren't paying as much attention or looking. So I don't know if there's a more sort of prevalent area, but I would imagine it's in areas where people can get closer to the players, whether it's right at the front of the center field fence or by the dugout area or other areas. But again, it shouldn't happen.
Sam, we all know about Bill Russell having a tough time in Boston, and Adam Jones talked about hearing about those stories of Bill Russell, and he's not so sure things have changed much in this city in 50 years. What do you think?
Well, it's really difficult to talk about things that happened 50 years ago. I wasn't around, although I was born here. I wasn't around then, but I can tell you that when we arrived in 2002, I think one of the most important things that John Henry, Tom Werner, and Larry Lucchino did was acknowledge the shameful past of the Boston Red Sox. They acknowledged this team was the last team to integrate, and there was a reputation of maybe not the most friendly and hospitable environment, and we've worked really hard to change that. We want to open up Fenway Park to everyone. Everyone should feel comfortable at Fenway Park. No matter your race, religion, political beliefs, your sexuality, you are welcome at Fenway. And I can tell you that is the way John Henry feels, the way Tom Werner feels, the way the 330 men and women of the Red Sox front office feel. So I hope things have changed for the better at Fenway in the last decade and a half. And it's important that we work at it each and every day.
Sam, what's the team's current policy?
What was the response inside the organization? I mean, this is the recent kind of end your players. What was the response inside the organization?
Same thing, disappointment. Really, it's upsetting when you hear that type of news. It's just there's just no place for it. So it's disappointment. We're upset, but we have to work together to do something about it, to address it, and that's what we're doing. It's really important that we partner on. I do think it's a collaboration between the front office, the players. As I mentioned, the fans can be our best allies in this because they can help us identify behavior going on around the ballpark that we may not be able to identify even just being 20 feet away. So that's something that's really important.
Sam,
over here.
What's the team's current policy for dealing with these kind of things?
Zero tolerance. There's zero tolerance for abusive language, inappropriate language, throwing things onto the field. There's a whole list of things that are prohibited here at Fenway in our code of conduct that we talk about each and every night. We have for a long time. It's sent out to our season ticket holders. It's on our website. So it's zero tolerance, and there's no trial. We come down and we eject you. You're gone if you're engaging in that type of behavior, and that's important to stress.
Anything beyond an ejection?
There has been, I remember one incident when unfortunately a fan threw a beer at Gary Sheffield, and we took his tickets away from him. That was back in 2005. But I have to stress there haven't been that many incidents that have been reported and identified that we've had to deal with over the years. It's unfortunate when something like this happens. It's especially unfortunate in this incident because we don't know who said what or where they were But again, that doesn't mean it didn't happen. It's just you wish you could sort of solve the problem, and we need to work night in and night out to do better.
Sam, in New York today, CC Sabathia said that among all the other African American players, they talked about it, that it's particularly bad in Boston. It's the only place he's heard the N-word. Are you willing to look into the idea that this really might be the worst place for whatever reason, that if so, something needs to be done?
Well, I think if one person hears an inappropriate remark or slur, then that's one person too many. So it's I don't want to comment on CC Sabathia's statements or anyone else's. I'll just say how I feel, and that's if one comment happens, it's one too many, and we need to address it. And it's unfortunate that one person could create a negative feeling for either a player or another fan or an employee. We've had employees, day-of-game staff, who have dealt with difficult situations in the past, and they don't deserve that either. So it's something we got to be vigilant about.
Racial type situation?
I'm not going to comment on that, but just bad back and forth with fans, and they're coming to work, and they need to be protected as well.
Okay, thanks, folks.
Thank you.